What's going on, guys? My name is Rising, and welcome back to yet another episode of Gun Guide for Call of Duty Mobile. This is the series where we focus on in-depth breakdowns, tips, builds, and class setups for every single weapon in Call of Duty Mobile's multiplayer. I really wanted to cover today's weapon much before because it turns out to be one of my favorite assault rifles in the game right now, but I was hoping to see some kind of buff if it received so that I could cover it that time. And thankfully, it did receive a small buff this season, and taking that as an excuse, we're finally covering the Grau 5.56 assault rifle. The base model, ported from Modern Warfare 2019, the Grau is based on the SG552 Commando manufactured by Sig Sauer in Switzerland. The Grau is a 4 to 6 shot kill weapon, dealing 27 damage up close, dropping to 18 at longer ranges. One of the major drawbacks on the Grau is its insufficient damage multipliers. It deals 1.4 times to the head and 1.1 times to the upper torso and upper arms. This means that headshots are not so effective, requiring you to hit at least 2 shots to the head to reduce its shots to kill. Same goes for the upper torso and upper arms, which are useful only in the second damage range. Apart from that, the bonus multipliers are pointless to aim for. The rate of fire is somewhere between moderate to high at 732 rounds per minute. This means that your 4-shot time to kill up close will be 246 milliseconds, dropping to 410 milliseconds at longer ranges. These time to kill potentials are not bad by any means, but it still falls behind other competitive weapons in current meta. The only way to achieve a 3-shot kill is by landing 2 headshots in the maximum damage range, in which case your time to kill will be 164 milliseconds. Now that we've seen our time to kill potentials, let us have a look on our range profile. The bullet velocity is standard for assault rifles at 900 meters per second, which means our hit scan range is up to 45 meters. And for its ranges, the base 4-shot kill range extends just up to 15 meters, while the base 5-shot range stretches up to 35 meters. The base range profile of the Grau is quite underwhelming. However, the weapon features a number of interesting barrel attachments, so let us have a look on those. I've listed down all the barrels that we've access to for the Grau. The first one is the ZLR Drifter A08 barrel, which is the only barrel that has an impact on its time to kill profile. What this barrel does is that it improves our rate of fire up to 779 rounds per minute without changing our damage values. This means our 4-shot time to kill is now 232 milliseconds, which is great, and our 5-shot time to kill being 309 milliseconds. Definitely, these time to kill values are better than the base weapon. However, they still fall behind weapons with even faster time to kill potentials, and on top of that, we get a 25% reduction to our bullet velocity and all of our damage ranges. These cons heavily impact the weapon's performance, and I'd suggest you to stay far away from this barrel and use some other weapon which has a similar time to kill with better performance at range. The second barrel is the FSS 11.8-inch Squall barrel, which improves our aim down sight by 12% while harming our bullet velocity by 12% as well. This barrel has no practical use, and so better stay far away from this as well. The third barrel is the XRK Chen Mark II, which improves our ranges by 20% and the bullet speed by 15%. These are welcoming improvements, however, the ranges are still below the competitive standards. The fourth one is the FSS 20.8-inch Nexus barrel, which improves our ranges by 28% and our bullet velocity by 33%. This is a great attachment, and you might want to go for this barrel. The final one that we have is the Tempest 26.4-inch Archangel barrel, which improves our bullet velocity by 30% and our ranges by a colossal 45%. This is one of the most significant range improvements that we get from a singular attachment in the entire game, and with the recent buff, now this barrel also improves our aim down sight spread by 10%. Even though it has some mobility penalty, I'd highly suggest you to use this barrel of its massive range boost, which is something that you might want to take advantage of. And as mentioned in the beginning, the base Grau has very bad performance at all ranges in comparison to other top-tier options that we have in the game right now. And since we cannot improve its lethality by any means, range boosting is the only way to improve its performance to somewhat compete in the current meta. As for its accuracy, the aim-down sight spread is more or less standard for an assault rifle. However, its hip-fire spread is significantly above average for an assault rifle. In fact, it's better than many of the submachine guns in this game, so even if you have a slower aim-down sight speed, you can start hip-firing at closer ranges and then gradually aim down your sight, in which case you'll be perfectly fine. Its hip flinch is slightly worse than AR standards, although its bullet impact is standard. And for its recoil, this is again one of the prime strengths of this weapon. The pattern is quite simple, with a slight lean towards the left for the first 6 shots, and after that it goes up to the right. The kick between shots is very low, and in practice, you can beam enemies with this gun at longer ranges. This factor alone makes range boosting very much impactful. The base aim-down sight is fast for an assault rifle at 240 milliseconds. Same goes for its sprint to fire time at 130 milliseconds, which is even better than SMG standards. All of its mobility stats are above average across the board. The Grau thus excels very well in this department. The magazine capacity is standard at 30 rounds with 120 in reserve. It reloads in 1.10 seconds with an empty reload time at 1.30 seconds. Both of these are well suited for a gun of such magazine capacity. And for its final base stat, we have the material penetration. The base weapon does 56% damage through thin cover and 52% damage through medium cover. You can improve these values with FMJ, but it's not worth sacrificing an attachment slot for it when you can use something else that has a direct impact on the weapon's overall performance. And with that, we've covered all of the base stats of the Grau, along with its unique barrel attachment. One thing that I forgot to mention while covering the barrels is that the front side of the weapon changes based on the barrel which you're using. You can see its different iron sights by equipping the gun in the practice range, which I'm not showing here. So far, we've seen that the gun doesn't excel in the lethality department by not having sufficient damage multipliers, so in order to make the weapon viable, you must focus on range boosting heavily, so that you can at least outgun enemies in those mid to long ranges. For that purpose, we're using the monolithic suppressor and the Archangel barrel for concealment and a significant range boost. We're using the no stock to somewhat mitigate the mobility cons of the Archangel barrel. We have the Cronin Sniper Elite to improve our aim down sight spread, and finally, the 50-round mags. With this build, we don't really have too many mobility cons, but on the bright side, our ranges are improved by a huge 70%, which means our base 4-shot range now becomes a great 25.5 meters, and our 5-shot range now stretches up to 59.5 meters, which basically covers all of our gunfights in the standard 5v5 multiplayer maps. And even though our close range time to kill is slower than most other top-tier weapons, we have one of the best mid to long range time to kills in the entire game. In short, even if you're falling behind in close ranges, you can easily outgun most other weapons at longer ranges if your aim is somewhat decent. Here's the overview of all of the stat changes for this build. Our recoil is extremely easy to control, which makes those longer range fights very effective. Pause the video to have a look on any of the stat that you'd like to see. As for an example class setup, for respawns, we have a launcher in our secondary to take down streaks. You can also use a melee to run around the map if you like. We're using the perk Greed Red as our wildcard, allowing us to carry 2 red perks, where we have Flak Jacket and Dauntless. And for the other 2 perks, we have Quick Fix and Hardline. For the lethal equipment, we have a Molotov cocktail, and for the tactical, we have a trophy system. Operator skills and score streaks can be chosen as preference. For search and destroy, we're using a knife as our secondary for rushing. We have a frag grenade as the lethal equipment and a stim as the tactical. We're also using restock as our additional red perks so that we can cycle through our throwables, and dead silence for obvious reasons. And with that is going to wrap it up on the gun guide for the Grau 5.56. As for my thoughts on the weapon, I might be biased on this, but the Grau might be my most favorite assault rifle at the moment. With a great range profile, low recoil, good accuracy, and decent mobility, you can't go wrong with this gun. It had a small issue with its bullet spread back in the past, but is now fixed with the buff to the Archangel barrel. And if you've been sticking around the COD franchise for the past few years, you'd possibly remember the Grau to be the most accurate weapon in Modern Warfare 2019, and even in Warzone where it used to dominate since the weapon's launch, until it got quite a number of nerfs and eventually got overshadowed by the AMAX and the Kilo 141. And as a matter of fact, they brought back the Grau as a full auto conversion kit for the SWAT 5.56 marksman rifle in Black Ops 6, simply to pay homage and bring back nostalgia to one of the most beloved weapon in the franchise. Although it was nerfed heavily post-launch because of its highly unbalanced nature, beating SMGs in their own range. But still, you can see a lot of players using the weapon if you're still playing BO6. Alongside so many other players, I might be one of them who heavily got affected by the Grau's presence and thus tending to like the weapon a lot in mobile. I'd encourage you to give the weapon a shot and see whether you like it or not. But of course, those were just my thoughts on the Grau 5.56. Now, I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think of this weapon? How often do you use the Grau in your multiplayer matches? And what are your personal opinions on the weapon? Just let your thoughts in the comment section down below. I just mentioned mine, and now's the time to share yours. As you know, I'll be covering the buffed weapons of this season first, before moving to something else. Also, I'll be doing assault rifles and SMGs alternatively, so if you have anything in mind, let me know which one you want me to cover next. If you want builds for all of the weapons, along with other in-depth analysis and breakdowns, then join my Discord server to gain access to all of them. I do put in a lot of effort in making these videos, so your support is highly appreciated. Make sure to subscribe and leave a like on this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.